Okay. In our upcoming 3.16 expansion, we're making a number of balance changes. Yesterday, we began our 3-part series by talking about our plans for flasks and ailment mitigation. We strongly recommend reading that post prior to this one. Today's post covers our plans for core character defenses and recovery. Tomorrow, we'll reveal the 3rd part to this series, which covers our plans for auras, curses, and elemental damage over time. We've assembled this article as a set of identified problems and our intended solutions. Below each solution is a spoiler tag with the specifics of what we're currently intending to change. Please note that we're still a couple of weeks out from release. Anything here is subject to change based on our further testing and your feedback. We're doing a major balance pass to improve defenses and recovery for all characters. The goal here is to put more power into the core defenses, armor, evasion, and energy shield, to make them the best way to mitigate the kind of damage they are best at preventing, while taking some of that power away from the one-off mechanics that provide a significant defense for too low of a cost. While some individual mechanics have been nerfed, this is an overall massive buff to defenses across the board. Previously, there were some very tanky characters, but they were gated behind specific niche mechanics and uniques that were not accessible to everyone. What we're doing here is moving a lot of the power to everyone else so that the core defenses are far more powerful than they were before. We're also making sure that every type of character has plenty of ways to mitigate a much more diverse set of damage types. For example, evasion mitigates attacks well, so we're introducing spell suppression to help evasion builds protect themselves against spells. Overarching problem. Dodge and blind provide more mitigation for fewer passive points and item slots than any other defense type. Attack dodge does this in a form that is almost identical to evasion, but is far more efficient. Overarching goal. Remove dodge entirely and review certain powerful mechanics like blind and fortify for non-melee characters. Improve almost every other scalable defense type significantly to make them more powerful. This includes armor, evasion, energy shield recovery, and spell block. Problem. Armor as a core stat doesn't provide sufficient defense with low to medium investment. Armor characters instead rely on a number of other mechanics to provide them with the defense against physical damage that armor is meant to provide. A solution. Improve the armor formula so that armor is more powerful, providing better mitigation across the board, and increase the strength of modifiers on items that add base local armor. I'm scared to click the spoiler, chat. I'm fucking scared. Previously, if you had 10,000 armor and you took a hit that dealt 2,000 physical damage, you will reduce that hit by 20%. Now you will reduce that hit by 33%. A rule of thumb with the new armor formula is that if you want to get 50% mitigation against a physical damage hit, you need 5 times the damage as armor, where previously it required 10 times the damage. As an example, if you want to mitigate a 5,000 hit down to 2,500, you need 50,000 armor to do this. Now you only need 25,000 armor. Bro, that is an enormous armor buff. That is such a big armor buff. 25,000 armor is fucking easy to get. Like, that is so easy to get. Oh yeah, my green screen is fucking up. Hold on. Wait, this isn't the right window. Also, this needs to be... Alright, that's better. Okay. Increase the strength modifiers. Oh, strength of modifiers on gear that add base local armor and added smoother progression of tiers, as they were currently very low until the highest tier, and had some levels where there was no new tier for a large number of levels. This will on average result in the items with higher armor on them, especially during the campaign and early maps, to make it much more affordable and reach decent armor values. Armor provided on base types can now be up to 10% higher as a part of the variable base type system detailed below. Determination has been buffed to provide both a flat bonus to armor as well as an existing more multiplier to armor. Grants up to 2,000 armor at level 20. This is way too good. This is actually way too good. This is way too good. This is way too much. Armor did not need this much. You're literally going to be unkillable. New suffix modifiers have been added to all armor-based body armor and shields that provide up to 8% additional physical damage reduction on each slot. You're literally never going to die. Additional physical damage reduction mods were discounted from all other rare modifiers so that the large values could be provided on the 2 above slots. New suffix modifiers have been added to all armor-based gloves, helmets, and boots that provide increased life regeneration rate. More RF buffs? Told you. This works as a multiplier to your life regeneration value. RF League. Review monster base armor as well, or as a result of changes to the armor formula. This may result in no changes if there are no significant impact on character damage. Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy mod for everybody, but it's especially nice for builds that specifically stack regen. Problem: evasion doesn't provide sufficient defense. Evasive characters instead rely on the acrobatics and phase acrobatics keystones to provide attack and spell mitigation. Solution: remove attack dodge entirely. Substantially buff evasion so that it is a good option to, and make sure it is easily available on items. Improve the evasion formula to grant more chance to evade for all values of evasion rating. To have 75% chance to evade against a tier 16 map monster, you currently need 49,000 evasion rating to achieve this. You will only need 24. That's so low. That is way too big. That's way too big. That's literally like, this is too much. This is too many buffs. This is actually too many buffs. It's gonna be Immortal of Exile next league. I don't know how players are gonna die. They haven't even mentioned like the recovery changes yet. They haven't even mentioned like spell suppression and what it actually does for evasion base types. Increase modifiers on gear that add base local evasion rating and smooth the progression of tiers. This is the same shit as armor. Evasion provided by base types can now be up to 10% higher. That's the same as armor. The gray skill gem now adds you and nearby allies gain 20% more evasion up to 29% at level 20. As well as its existing flat bonus to evasion. These changes make the aura very effective at attack mitigation if you've already invested into evasion. Reworked evasion passives. Adjusted monster-based evasion and minion accuracy to compensate for the changes to evasion formula. Problem: evasion provides no defense against spells. Introduce spell suppression on evasion items, as well as the dexterity section of the passive skill tree, which gives a chance to half spell damage taken. This chance can be stacked up to 100%. Convert existing sources of dodge and spell dodge to spell suppression or replace them with other bonuses. So evasion just gets full glancing against spell damage now. Spell suppression is designed as a dexterity character's best answer to spells. In general, spell suppression gives easier access and more reliable spell damage mitigation for dexterity characters without reliance on specific uniques. It's also much more reliable than spell dodge, but has a lower maximum. There will be a few specialized ways to invest in increasing the spell damage suppressed to reward high investment if you want to further protect yourself from spell hits. Spell suppression will be found on various passive skills in the evasion areas of the passive skill tree. The evasion wheel at the center of the passive skill tree no longer provides accuracy, but provides a combo of evasion and chance to suppress spells instead. New suffix modifiers have also been added to all evasion armors that can roll modifiers that grant a chance to suppress spell damage. Body armors and shields in particular can roll larger values of these modifiers. Added a new keystone passive to the center of the tree called Mage Bane. Dexterity provides no inherent bonus to evasion rating. You gain 1% chance to suppress spell damage per 15 dex. Vol Grace no longer has chance to dodge attacks or spell hits. Instead, it now grants 15% chance to evade attack hits, and suppress spell damage dealt to you is unlucky. Additional chance to evade monsters were discontinued from all rare modifiers, passives, and Pantheon powers as their values were generally too low or felt out of place, and so that Vol Grace could provide a very large value of this stat. Change Elusive to provide 15% chance to avoid damage from hits instead of the old dodge-related stats. Change Wind Dancer to further improve high evasion builds rather than reducing evade chance, but making it riskier if you're not evading attacks a lot. It now gives less attack damage taken if you haven't been hit by an attack recently, and more evasion rating and attack damage if you have been hit. So it's better for evasion characters that have high evasion rating and bad for characters that are being hit a lot. Wait. It now gives less attack damage taken if you haven't been hit by an attack recently, and more evasion rating and attack damage if you have been hit. How is that worse? I mean, yes, theoretically you would be getting hit a little bit more, but it's not like getting more attack damage and more evasion is bad. Wait, am I reading it wrong? Oh, attack damage taken. Okay, I misread it. Yeah. Okay, that's way worse. Okay, that makes sense. Acrobatics has been redesigned. It no longer has any of its old properties, but now changes any modifiers to spell suppression into spell dodge at 50% of its value. The intention is that Acrobatics is the only source in the entire game for spell dodge, or characters who would like to benefit from that playstyle still. Spell dodge is still capped at 75, and the Keystone passive will specifically mention this. Phase Acrobatics no longer exists. Many other changes on the top of those noted above to improve specific items, passives, and skills. This is so many fucking buffs. Jesus Christ. Problem. Due to armor and evasion not working effectively as primary defenses previously, we've introduced a lot of mechanics over the years that either scale them too efficiently or scale off of them too efficiently or not well enough. The intention would be that the straightforward way of getting armor or evasion on your items is the best way to maximize its efficacy. Solution. Review all mechanics that scale off armor and evasion, and all mechanics that grant large values or increases to armor and evasion. So this is where Molten Shell gets shot, right? This has to be where it is. Yeah, okay. Wait, they buffed it? Vol Molten Shell will now grant 50 armor instead of 25, and 858 instead of 429. Okay, it no longer gives more armor. Now grants 35% of damage. 35% of damage from hits is taken from the buff before your life. Up to 40%. So it mitigates more damage if you have the same amount of armor, but you will have less armor because the more multiplier is gone. I mean, it's still going to be donger nuts because how much armor is going to be attainable now. Dude, Determination gives you more armor than an eye level 86 perfectly rolled fucking Astral. Aura Stacker is going to be bussin' this league. I mean, hard fucking bussin'. I hope the aura changes tomorrow. Gut them, because they're going to need to be gutted. Alright, Brass Dome. Unique is being redesigned to more properly embrace its identity of high armor body armor, while not providing as extreme of a difference compared to a rare body armor with top-tier armor modifiers. Memory Vault no longer gains... Whoa, they shot it. Gain armor equal to your reserved mana. Instead, it now grants 1% increased armor per 50 reserved mana. Any aura stackers? Any aura stackers? Chat? Formless Flame and Formless Inferno now grant armor is increased by overcapped fire resistance. Previously uncapped. Oh, so you lose 75% armor, right? Because overcapped is only counting the stuff over your cap, and then uncapped is just all of it. So you lose like anywhere from 75 to 76 or 77, depending on what passive skills you have, right? Percent armor. Am I reading that right? God damn it, my green screen's fucking up again. All right. Creation's Carapace now grants 200 and 250 increased armor It provided just a bit too much armor compared to rares when considering all the other stats it provided. That's fair. Transcendence Keystone passive skill now grants a larger penalty to maximum all resistances, previously -5. Wait, how much is it? It doesn't say. Mask of the Tribunal no longer grants nearby enemies have 4 to 6% increased defenses per 100 strength you have. Instead, it now grants nearby allies have 1% chance to block attack damage per 100 strength you have. That's pretty good. Any Brutus Lead Sprinkler Chieftains in the chat? That shit's kind of poggers. That's like 20% block for a well-geared Chieftain, right? How hard is 2k strength to get? I feel like it's attainable on softcore. Oh, it's easy to get 2k? Okay. Avatar of the Chase. Raider Notable Ascendancy passive no longer grants 35% more chance to evade melee attacks during Onslaught, or 35% more chance to evade projectiles during Onslaught. Instead, it now grants 10% more chance to evade attacks during Onslaught. I mean, they kind of had to shoot Raider a bit, right? Like, with all these evasion changes and shit. The Snowblind Grace and the Perfect Form now grants evasion rating is increased by overcapped instead of uncapped. Other stats are being improved. Willow Gift no longer grants 4 to 5 buffs you create, instead grant 30% more evasion. Instead, it now grants 4% chance to suppress spell damage per fortification, but removes the less damage taken from fortification. Existing items will no longer provide evasion rating while you have Fortify, though you will need to use Divine Orb to obtain spell suppression. Wait, per fortification? Oh my god, that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna make Fortify be successive hits in order to be full value. So you can't just use one skill to stack it. That's their solution. You're gonna have to hit the thing repeatedly in order to get full effect of the Fortify. Alright. Problem. Characters who rely solely on armor are not protected against elemental damage. Solution. Add more maximum elemental resistances to areas of the passive tree that have armor in them. You gotta be really careful with max res, GGG. That shit's fucking OP. More information on the passive skill tree will be coming in later. Alright, first problem. The Veiled, also, maximum all resistances. RF buff. RF buff. First problem. The Veiled modifier that increases quality on equipment was required to maximize the energy shield from an item. This is a problem because you cannot pick up the best energy shield items off the ground. Second problem. Stacking the energy from not notable passive on cluster jewels was way too efficient as a way to maximize your ES. Duh. Solution. Replace the Veiled modifier and lower the power on the energy from not notable. Compensate all characters for the loss of maximum energy shield by increasing the strength of all energy shield base types. Add more energy shield to the passive skill tree. This is also kind of monkus. Energy shield provided by base items can now be up to 20% higher as part of a variable base type system detailed below. The Veiled crafted modifier that provided quality and strength, dexterity, intelligence no longer provides quality. This is to keep the top end at about the same while bringing the lower investment energy shield up. Instead, it now grants up to 25% chance to avoid ignite, freeze, or shock depending on the attributes, and providing another way to allow characters to solve their ailment problems. The energy from not notable now grants 60 ES instead of 100. Added new passives that grant energy shield to various locations on the tree that didn't have many energy shield passives. I think this ends up being more. 20% more base value on all ES types. Like, how many energy from knots does an endgame build have? 3 to 4 tops? Like, if you're really big dicking ES, you have like 3 to 4, right? So you lose 160 base ES. Maybe you don't get that back. I guess we'll have to see. I forget, like, the actual, like, what's a Vol Regalia base ES even? You probably get like 40 extra ES from that alone, right? Yeah, but they're saying base value. So the base will be affected by all the other energy shield modifiers. Well, it'll be affected by the percentages, not the flats, obviously. Okay. With a desire to increase armor, evasion, and ES power across the board, we felt that the base value on items were too low. In addition, we feel our item system needs a bit more base type heterogeneity. Heterogeneity? Genity? Yeah, that's the one. Sure. Base types are now generated with a random 0% 0 to 10% higher base defense as an inbuilt, currently non-modifiable property. This means that all base types can be better than they currently are, and armor base types are not homogeneous anymore. Energy shield values on base types instead vary from 0 to 20%. So this is a non-divinable variable stat on a base item. So if an Astral can have anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 defense, you can now roll in that. Problem. Energy shield is most often used with leech and regeneration like life, rather than embracing its unique recharge mechanic. Solution. Increase the base recovery rate of energy shield recharge. Rework the downside of Wicked Ward Keystone. Move improvements to energy shield recharge to the core modifier pool for energy shield gear away from specialized item mechanics. Energy shield now recharges at a base of 33 per second instead of 20. It's pretty good. Wicked Ward Keystone passive skill no longer grants 50% less energy shield regeneration rate or 50% less maximum total energy shield recovery per second from leech. Instead, now grants 40% less energy shield recharge rate. This brings the recharge rate with Wicked Ward down to 19.8 per second, while before it would have been 20% with or without the Keystone. It also allows you to invest in other forms of energy shield recovery if you would like to, including the energy shield leech in your build. Recharge also has more avenues of scaling as mentioned below. This combined with the faster natural recharge is almost entirely a buff. Yeah, this is fucking insane. Because now it just doesn't... It's still okay to get leech now. Like, it's still modified a bit. But you... Yeah, I don't know if ES leech is, like, good, but it's better. Alright, new suffix modifiers have been added to all energy shield-based body armors and shields that provide up to 66% faster start of energy shield recharge on each item slot? What? So that means you can get... Okay, with the new thing... Wait, hold on. That's 132% if you have two perfectly rolled, right? Because you can get the armor and the shield. That's nuts. That means you have to not be hit for like 2 seconds or 1 second and you'll be recharging. They might touch Zealot's Oath in this, I'm not sure. Yeah, only body armor and shield doesn't matter, dude. Do you understand how much 100+% faster start of energy shield recovery is? That's insane. It's so good for bossing. Like, you're just gonna be full ES all the time. Can't interrupt recharge? Yeah, that's what Wicked Ward does. Alright. Crafted and influenced faster start of energy shield recharge modifiers and rings can no longer be obtained. That makes sense. Faster start of energy shield recharge has also been added to areas on the passive skill tree where energy shield is found. Crafted modifiers have also been added. New suffix modifiers have been added to all energy shield based gloves, helmets, boots, and boots that provide 30% increased energy shield recharge rate. Crafted modifiers have also been added. Okay, so hear me out, chat. The base energy shield recharge rate is 33 of your ES per second. That means it takes 3 seconds to go from 0 energy shield to full. Comedian, thank you for the 9. So that means if you have a build that has 2 well-rolled, like let's say 100% plus start of recharge, you're going to get your ES back if you haven't been hit for like 1.5 seconds. Like, let's say a second and a half, loosely. And then, if you have, like, let's say 2 or 3 items between your gloves, your helmet, and your boots. Okay, so let's say, like, end game, you have all 3. That's over 100% rate. That means you're gaining more than half your ES a second. So every 3 seconds, you get a full heal if you haven't been hit. Minimum. It could actually go down to like 2.5 or 2 with good enough gear. So if you just don't get hit for 2 seconds, you're full life. This is too much. Like, it's too much. The values are too high. Alright. Percent energy shield regeneration modifiers can no longer be obtained on energy shield based body armors and are no longer in the influence modifier pool. That makes sense. Ghost Reaver Keystone passive skill now prevents your energy shield from recharging. Previously 50% less. Okay, that makes sense. The Crusader modifier for gloves that provides increased maximum total energy shield recovery second per leech now provides 15 from 10. Yeah, living is fun, but these defenses are just ridiculous. You're literally never gonna die. Like, if you die, it's because you fucking went AFK in a tier 16 triple damage mod map. Laughs and dying in blank white map tier 1. Okay, let me be frank. If you, even right now, if you were to log in 3.15 and you died in a tier 1 map, it's because you just didn't gear your character sufficiently when you got into the map. You rushed, you're like 2.7k life, you're wearing a tabula, and you got like 20 fire res. That's why you're dying. Alright. Problem. Builds wanting to invest in both energy shield and evasion rely heavily on ghost dance, requiring them to be trickster. No fucking shit. It's been that way for years. Solution. Give everyone access to ghost dance. Okay. Okay, man. Okay. Every 2 seconds, gain a Ghost Shroud, up to a maximum of 3. When hit, lose a Ghost Shroud, and recover energy shield equal to a percentage of your evasion rating. Cannot recover energy shield to above evasion rating. We're still deciding on the specific value. The Trickster Ascendancy will be changed as it no longer grants Ghost Dance. Dude, think about it. Think about being a Raider or a Pathfinder with hybrid defense. How are you dying? You have spell suppression, you have Ghost Dance, you have cap attack attack mitigation all the time. You have improved flasks. How are you dying? All right. Problem. Builds wanting to invest in both armor and energy shield have no mechanic that gives us energy between the two. Yes, this is why Inquisitor sucks balls. Added a new Keystone passive skill and add more hybrid armor energy shield passives to the Templar section of the passive tree. New Keystone passive called Divine Shield. Percentage of total physical damage prevented from hits recently is regenerate. It's more RF buffs, dude. I'm playing RF. None of you motherfuckers can stop me. I'm playing RF. Period. Cannot recover energy shield to above armor. What's RS damage? They're going to release the elemental damage over time and the EO changes and stuff tomorrow. Show me a map video of RF. Do a search for Captain Lance Scotch on YouTube. Watch his Inquisitor RF. That's what it looks like. I think it's Captain Lance, right? He's the RF guy. He did it in Expedition. Elia RF has been dead for like 3 years. Okay. Some areas of the passive skill tree, the shadow area in particular, have no defense against and very little life regeneration to overcome damage over time effects. Improve life regen modifiers on gear and add a new keystone between witch and shadow area on the passive skill tree to heavily dampen the initial impact of damage over time. Greatly enhance flat life regeneration modifiers on gear to be closer to 2 to 3% of an expected character life at their level. RF buffs. Sorry, that clapping was probably really loud. Percentage base life regen has been removed from the non-unique equipment modifiers and the influence modifier pool. This is now reserved for uniques and the passive skill tree. New keystone passive skill tree added to the shadow area called Leth Shade. Or is it Leith or Leth? I don't actually know. Take 75% less damage over time if you started taking damage over time in the past second. 100% more duration of ailments on you. That's actually a really big buff, because you can just have... so for the sake of poison, you could just have the Pantheon that caps you at 3. Or you could have the thing that makes debuffs expire faster. You could also just have a flask that removes it, like on your life flask or some shit. That's a pretty solid node, actually. It means that when you're mapping, or rather, like here's another example. Say you're in Belly of the Beast. You know the puncture things? The guys with the pokey arms that just punch you and you bleed? It means if you have that, you're pretty much not going to die to it anymore. Especially if you have a staunching, because it gives you time. It gives you time to react. Alright, problem. A few specific mechanics grant a lot of life regeneration, especially with endurance charge stacking. But for many other sources of life regeneration, it's not very powerful. Solution: remove various sources of life regen per endurance charge or lower their values. Review effects that give life recovery rate and high values of life regeneration. Add new passives in the strength area of the tree that grant life regeneration and one source of increased life regeneration rate. Problem: shadow attacks don't have a form of life recovery that they excel at, while almost every other core character has a signature special recovery method. Solution: add a new passive key skill add new passive skill clusters to the shadow area of the passive skill tree, allowing investment in a combination of life on hit, life on kill, and life leech. This also includes a source of maximum total recovery per second from leech in the shadow area of the passive tree. Problem: witch and shadow casters don't have an accessible form of life recovery. Solution: add new passive skill clusters to the area of the passive skill tree between shadow and witch, allowing investment in life on kill and recouping a portion of damage taken as life. More information on passive skill tree changes will be coming later. Problem: block is a pretty fundamental form of defense available to characters, seeing as it is available on shields, but the Gladiator Ascendancy is far more efficient for block investment compared to any other class because of Gladiator's versatile combatant notable skill that grants as much spell block as you have attack block. Oh no. Give everyone access to a weaker form of versatile combatant as a keystone passive and replace the Gladiator Ascendancy skill. Also improve how much block chance and spell block chance you can get from other sources. This one's bad. This one's really bad. Versatile combatant is now a keystone passive on the passive skill tree. Grants 2% chance to block spell damage for each 1% overcapped chance to block attack damage. Also grants minus 25% to maximum chance to block attack damage and minus 25% maximum chance to block spell damage. This means you have 75 block attack damage. Allocating this keystone passive grants you 50% chance to block attack damage as well as 50% chance to block spell damage. Right. Okay. I mean, this is still pretty good. Right, so if you have 75 block and you put this in, because each point of overcapped block gives you 2% chance to block spell damage, if you had 75, you go down to 50, which means you're 25 overcap, and 25 times 2 is 50. So you go from 75 block on attack to 50-50. Right, that makes sense. I mean, this is still an extraordinarily good node. Like, 50% chance to block for spells is really, really important for some builds. So I still think this will be taken a fair amount of the time. Alright, more access to spell block has been added between Templar and Witch sections of the passive skill tree. The suffix modifiers that grant attack block and spell block on shields have been improved, and new tiers have been added. These now grant up to 16% attack block and 15% block, while respectively, while at their highest tier. Spell block and block. 15? 15! 15! Jesus Christ. That is so high. Yeah, it was fucking 4. That's almost a 400% increase. That's the Absolution buff. They released the Absolution buff. Literally a day later, GG swoops in and they say, oh, our bad, guys. I guess this ability is literally 25% as strong as it should be. And then they buffed it by 4 times. It's literally the Meteor or fucking Firestorm shit. Yeah, okay, math guy. Shut up. Who used the 4%? Lots of hardcore players used it, actually. The Gladiators' block Ascendancy passive skills have been reworked. We're experimenting with a new notable passive that makes the Gladiators' chance to block attack damage lucky, which helps offset the downside of Versatile Combatant. We'll be making changes to the passive skills and life granted by Bone Offering. That makes sense. Lucky block? Yeah, that means it's 100% block, right? No, wait. It goes back to 75. Yeah, mathematically it goes back to 75. So you'd have lucky block for both things. Problem. The pool of modifiers available on shields includes some that have values that are too low or aren't relevant to shields. The power level of shield modifiers in general is also too low. Remove irrelevant modifiers from shields and add some really powerful ones. You could just stop here. Just stop. There's too many buffs. I can't. Everyone's going to be immortal. I can't do this. Oh, fuck. Modifiers such as chance to block projectile attack damage, chance to avoid stun, increased global physical damage, global elemental damage, global attack damage, flat mana gained on block, percentage life regeneration, and increased cast speed either felt out of place or generally do not have impactful values. These can no longer be obtained on various shields. These changes are meant to make shields feel more cohesive as a defensive piece of equipment, as well to make their core modifiers more impactful. This will also make it easier to roll powerful shields and obtain shields with a specific modifier you're after. As mentioned above, modifiers such as block chance and spell block chance were significantly improved and new tiers were added. Block chance now grants up to 16% at its highest tier, and spell block chance goes up to 15% at its highest tier. These values literally need to be halved. They need to be halved. We have added a few impactful modifiers to specific shield types. Armor-based shields can now roll high values of reduced extra damage taken from critical strikes, the value going up to 60%. Armor-based shields can now roll up to 8% additional physical damage reduction. That means if you have an armor shield and an armor chest, you can get 16% flat physical damage reduction.
Spoiler, last thing in the manifesto is bad. Just shit, really.
I mean, whatever. This is literally all buffs so far, so I'm okay with reading one shit thing. Armor-based shields can now all roll up to 100 life gain on block. This was previously only pure armor shields could roll life gain on block, but now it can also roll an armor evasion, armor energy shield. Evasion shields can now roll high values of chance to suppress spell damage up to 34% at its highest tier. Evasion shields can now roll up to 480 accuracy rating. Previously, only pure evasion shields could roll accuracy rating, but this is now also roll on evasion armor and evasion ES. Energy shield base shields can now roll higher values of faster start of energy shield recovery. We read that one already. Can now roll increased critical strike chance with spells. Previously, this was only on pure energy. Okay. Where are we at here? As a defense, blind was equivalent to an incredibly high level of evasion with minimal character investment. It felt mandatory for all characters. Solution: make blind synergize with evasion so that it's more powerful only if you have built a very evasive character. The power level of new blind is significantly lower than before, but it has more opportunities for further investment if you want to specialize in it. Blind now causes all targets to have 20% less accuracy and evasion rating. This change makes it so blind is of no defensive help to characters who have no evasion, but helps you if you do. It also has an offensive component, like if you wanted to lower evasion rating of evasive monsters to make it easier to hit them. That part of it doesn't matter. The 20% less evasion rating is garbage. Blind effect is now available on the passive skill tree if you want to invest further. Sabo Ascendancy notable passive skill is tied to blind, is being reviewed, and Flesh and Stone is being changed as noted below. Problem: because Flesh and Stone blinded nearby enemies, it was incredibly popular. The changes to blind have reduced its power, so now characters might be missing a low-cost defensive reservation effect. Solution: reduce the cost of Flesh and Stone and change Tempest Shield so that is similarly powerful defensive reservation effect, alongside Arctic Armor and Flesh and Stone. The intent is that there are 3 competing defensive reservation effects that you are able to pick between or use together. Flesh and Stone has been changed back to a 25% reservation as a result of the changes made to blind. Tempest Shield has been reworked to become a 25% reservation effect that provides a large amount of spell block, as well as immunity to shock. It still has the property of shooting out lightning on block, and the damage has been significantly buffed. Arctic Armor was already buffed to provide an immunity to freeze. Problem: Fortify is intended as a defensive benefit for a melee character, but can often be obtained by spellcasters using melee weapon types that didn't actually engage in melee combat. Change the Fortify mechanic so its effect is based on your melee damage. We're experimenting with a system that lets Fortify be applied based on melee damage dealt so that tiny little melee damage hits don't provide full strength to Fortify. This will mean that we'll be able to introduce a chance to gain Fortify and hit or passive skill items, which we've avoided in the past, but we're looking to avoid a system where every spellcaster wants to run shield charge to get Fortify at little cost. Our eventual goal here is that all melee characters keep Fortify up reliably without a huge cost, while spellcasters and rage characters won't have access to the mechanic without significant investment or being a champion. This is a great change. I don't know what you're talking about. If spellcasters and evasion characters maintained full effect of Fortify with all these defensive changes, you would quite literally be immortal, and that is not good for the game. Like, I don't care what you say. It is not good to be unkillable. You should be able to die. This change has to happen. If this change didn't happen, with the evasion changes, the armor changes, the spell suppression shit, like all the other stuff, if this did not happen, the game would literally become a joke. And Fortify was never added to the game with the intention of being abused by every single archetype. It just ended up being that way, right? It just ended up being that way. I mean, overall, this is a ridiculous buff to every single defense. Like, all of them. Recovery rates are getting buffed, too. This concludes part 2 of our 3.16 expansion balance changes. Tomorrow we'll share part 3, which covers our plans for auras, curses, and elemental damage over time. Please keep in mind that we're several weeks away from our launch. Elements of what we've written here may change after further playtesting, feedback, and iteration. There's plenty more to discover in an upcoming reveal of Path of Exile Scourge and its patch notes. Pog. Pog, pog, pog. I got booted. How is Lacerate or Sunder melee and Lightning Tendrils isn't? Because Lightning Tendrils is literally a spell. You're not physically causing something to hit something, you're casting it. Oh man, I think I'm playing Inquisitor RF, guys. It is buffed too much. I can tell you that with certainty, it's buffed too much. Occultist start? Yeah, Occultist is gonna be really good too. You ever just see the random floater node? No shot, I can't scale that. There we go. Do I want to do depths? Yeah, if we have a tank. Finding a tank is kind of hard, though. Self-cast Freezing Pulse or bust? What are my top 4 for cold? Oh, for cold damage? Oh, cold Divine Ire. Occultist is definitely up there. Because I think the clear would be really nice. Elementalist would feel really good too. Trickster is obviously always an option. Oh, you mean the nodes. I mean, you're getting Frigid Wake no matter what, right? You just kind of have to get that. And then, depending on what the curse and aura changes are tomorrow, you might actually consider getting... So you have Profane Bloom, you get Frigid Wake because you have to. And then you either get the Power Charge one, which I think for softcore trade is probably not as mandatory. Because they're also adding other ways to generate charges, right? So if there's easier ways to generate power charges, you probably don't take that one. And then you get the double curse one. The other one is tempting if... Yeah, you can do cast on power charge on crit or whatever. Like Orbis Storm stuff. Not gonna take the curse one because you want the stun immune one? Yeah, you can do that too, but getting a stun immune is also gonna be easier, right? Because they're adding chance to avoid stun on a lot of stuff. Like, I'm not sure what the itemization budget is on that stuff too, and yeah, you're gonna be low life, so. Presence of Keyulala is pretty nice. Did they go to the north one first? Hand over the Ignite buffs? Yeah. I wonder what they're gonna do to EE. I feel like they're gonna buff Elemental Overload and they're gonna nerf EE. They might just add nodes to the tree too. Like damage over time nodes.